My name is Beatrice Vance, and for 82 years, my world has moved to the gentle rhythm of the seasons, dictated by the silent, tireless work of bees. My late husband, Arthur, and I were not just beekeepers, we were guardians of a rare and fragile ecosystem. Our small farm, nestled in a hidden valley, was home to a unique species of lavender that grew nowhere else on Earth. A flower my Arthur, a brilliant botanist, had spent his life cultivating. The honey our bees produced from this lavender was not merely sweet, it was a miracle. A golden ambrosial liquid with scientifically proven medicinal properties that could heal wounds and bolster the immune system in ways modern medicine could not explain. We never sold it, we gave it away to the local clinics, the community centers, the people who needed it. It was our gift to the world, a legacy of natural healing. Since Arthur passed, I have continued this work alone. My only companions, the steady hum of my hives and the fragrant purple fields. I thought my life would end here, in the quiet peace of my valley. I was wrong. The modern world, with its insatiable hunger, found me. It came in the form of my grandniece, Amelia, and her partner, Julian. Amelia was my sister's granddaughter, a brilliant biochemist with a mind as sharp as a scalpel and a heart, I would soon learn, as cold as one. Julian was a marketing executive, a man who could sell sand in a desert and convince you it was a miracle. They arrived at my farm not with flowers, but with a business proposal. They sat in my rustic kitchen, their city clothes looking alien against the worn wood of my table. "Great-Aunt Beatrice," Amelia began, her voice a carefully crafted melody of respect and ambition. "What you have here is not just honey, it's a gold mine. Its unique enzymatic properties are off the charts. We've analyzed the sample you gave us last Christmas. With the right branding, the right marketing, we could turn Beatrice's honey into a global wellness brand, a billion-dollar brand." Julian chimed in, his eyes gleaming. "We'll call it Belixir. We'll sell it in tiny, elegant jars for $200 apiece. It will be the next great superfood. Your story, the reclusive beekeeper with a secret miracle cure, it's pure marketing genius." I looked at them, at their bright, hungry eyes, and I felt a chill that had nothing to do with the morning air. They did not see a gift, they saw a product. They did not see healing, they saw profit. "The honey is not for sale," I said, my voice quiet but firm. "It is a legacy of healing, not of wealth. My husband's work was never about money." Amelia's smile tightened. "Your husband was a brilliant scientist, Beatrice, but he wasn't a businessman. He was sitting on a cure that could have changed the world on a massive scale, but he chose to keep it small. That's not noble, it's selfish." The insult to my Arthur's memory was a physical blow. "We are not selling," I repeated. "The answer is no." They did not argue. They simply smiled, a chilling, unified expression of predators who knew that the hunt had just begun. Their campaign was one of insidious attrition. They didn't try to force me to sign anything. They began to poison my world from the outside in. They started by buying the adjacent properties, the buffer lands that protected my valley's unique ecosystem. Then they started their own company, Amelia Thorne Biolabs. The rumors began to circulate in the nearby town. The old beekeeper, Beatrice Vance, was sitting on a miracle cure, but in her senility was refusing to share it with the world. Julian's marketing machine was at work, painting me as a selfish old woman, a witch in her pottage hoarding a secret potion.
They began to court my suppliers, the small independent businesses that provided my jars and labels. They offered them lucrative contracts, slowly choking off my resources. My quiet life was being systematically dismantled. The true nature of their plan, however, was far more sinister than a simple corporate takeover. They didn't just want my brand, they wanted my secret. They wanted to synthesize my honey. Amelia, with her biochemistry PhD, was convinced she could replicate the unique compound from the lavender that gave the honey its power. For months, they tried. They took samples of the flowers, of the honey, of the soil. They failed. Their synthesized version was inert, a dead, sugary syrup. It lacked the one thing they could not replicate, the living, breathing, symbiotic relationship between my unique bees and my husband's unique flowers. Frustrated, they escalated. They began a legal assault. They filed a petition with the state health board, claiming that my unregulated, artisanal honey was a potential public health risk. They sent inspectors who swarmed my small, clean processing shed looking for any violation. They found none, but the damage to my reputation was done. I was no longer the kind old woman who gave away healing honey. I was a potential danger. Their final, desperate act was one of unimaginable cruelty. They knew that my bees were the key. They couldn't replicate the honey, so they decided to steal the source. One moonless night, I was awoken by a strange silence. The gentle, ever-present hum of the hives was gone. I rushed outside. My apiary, my beautiful, thriving city of bees, was empty. 20 of my most vital hives, the genetic heart of my unique colony, had been stolen. They had left behind only tired tracks and a profound, heartbreaking silence. I sank to my knees in the dew-soaked grass, my world shattered. They had not just stolen my bees, they had stolen the life's work of my husband, the very soul of my valley. I was alone. I had no proof, only the cold certainty of who was responsible. Despair, for the first time in my life, felt like a terminal illness. I retreated into the house, the silence of the valley now a mocking, deafening roar. For days I barely moved, sitting in Arthur's old armchair, staring at the empty fields. Then my eyes fell upon his old locked roll-top desk. It was the one piece of furniture I had never touched, a monument to my grief. I didn't know why, but I felt a sudden, inexplicable urge to open it. The key was in its usual hiding place, a small, hollowed-out book on his bedside table. Inside the desk, beneath stacks of old botany journals and seed catalogs, was a hidden compartment, and inside that compartment was a single, slim, leather-bound book. It was not a journal, it was a logbook, and its title, embossed in gold, read, "The Phoenix Protocol." My hands trembled as I opened it. The first page was a letter to me. "My dearest Beatrice, if you are reading this, it means the world has come for our valley and you feel you have no defense. You are wrong. Nature has its own weapons, and I have spent my life learning their language. Greed is a predictable disease, and I have prepared an antidote." Arthur, my gentle, quiet botanist, had been a brilliant strategist. He had anticipated that someone one day might try to steal or replicate his work, and he had built a biological trap of breathtaking genius. The lavender, our unique, miraculous flower, had a secret. It was a hybrid, a cross-pollination of two rare species. One produced the healing nectar. The other, a nearly identical cousin, produced a nectar that was subtly, harmlessly different. But Arthur had discovered that when the nectar of this second plant was processed and concentrated using modern, high-heat industrial methods, the very methods a company like Amelia's would use to mass-produce a synthetic version, a dormant alkaloid within it would transform. It would become a potent, fast-acting, and highly specific allergen. It wasn't poisonous. It wouldn't kill anyone, but it would cause a dramatic, unmistakable, and deeply unpleasant allergic reaction in 99% of the population. Severe, blistering hives. He had planted a single, hidden apiary of bees deep in the woods that exclusively pollinated this second Trojan horse lavender. He called them his Judas colony. The honey they produced was visually and chemically almost identical to the true healing honey. It was his ultimate failsafe. "They will eventually try to steal the bees, my love," he wrote. "They will be arrogant. They will not know which colony is the true one. They will likely take both.
And when they tried to turn our gift into a product, they will poison their own well. All you need to do is give them the stage and let nature reveal the truth." The final page of the logbook contained a single, small glass vial of a clear liquid. The note beside it read, "The Truth Serum, a simple pollen-reactive agent. Add 1 drop to each sample. The true honey will turn a deep royal purple. The other will remain unchanged. The proof will be undeniable." A fire I thought had been extinguished forever roared back to life within me. My grief was replaced by a cold, clear, and focused rage. My first call was not to a lawyer. It was to a young, disgraced botanist named Dr. Eris Thorne, a woman whose career had been ruined by Amelia over a research dispute. She was brilliant, and she was hungry for redemption. I invited her to my farm. I showed her the logbook. I showed her the vial. Her eyes, which had been dull with defeat, lit up with the fire of a scientist who had just been handed the most elegant experiment of her life. Our trap was set. Now we just needed the stage. Julian and Amelia provided it for us. 2 months later, the invitations went out for the global launch of Belixir, a revolutionary new wellness product from Amelia Thorne Biolabs. The launch was to be held at the city's most prestigious venue, the Grand Health and Innovation Expo. They had invited the world's press, major health and wellness influencers, and a host of potential investors. It was to be their coronation. The night of the expo, the hall was buzzing with excitement. A massive stage was dominated by a huge screen showing a slick video of my valley, my flowers, my bees, all artfully edited to look like their own research facility. Amelia and Julian stood on stage, the picture of modern scientific wellness. "For years," Amelia began, her voice resonating with false sincerity, "a miracle of nature has been hidden away, a secret kept by the old world. We at Amelia Thorne Biolabs have used the power of modern science to unlock this secret and bring it to you." Julian took over. "We present Belixir," he boomed, as attendants in white lab coats began to circulate through the crowd, offering small, elegant spoons with a tiny taste of a golden, viscous liquid. "The purest, most potent, scientifically verified wellness product on the market. A taste of immortality." That was our cue. From the back of the hall, Dr. Eris Thorne's voice, amplified by a small microphone, cut through the applause. "A fascinating claim, Mr. Thorne. One that deserves to be scientifically verified. In public." All heads turned. Eris walked calmly down the aisle, followed by 2 technicians wheeling a portable gas chromatographer and a spectroscopic analysis station. "My name is Dr. Eris Thorne, and I have reason to believe that the product you are selling is not only a fraud, but a potential public health hazard." The room erupted in murmurs. Julian's face turned white with rage. "This is a pathetic stunt from a disgraced scientist! Security, remove this woman!" "Am I?" Eris replied, her voice cool and steady. "Then you won't mind submitting your belixir to a simple real-time chemical analysis, will you? Unless, of course, you have something to hide." The press, smelling blood, surged forward, their cameras flashing. Julian was trapped. To refuse would be an admission of guilt. "Fine," he spat. "Prove it." As Eris's team set up their equipment, I made my entrance. I walked slowly down the aisle, no longer the frail, forgotten beekeeper, but the guardian of my valley. I held a single, simple jar of my true honey. I placed it on the analysis table next to their slick, branded jar of belixir. "Let's make this simple," I said, my voice carrying a quiet authority that silenced the room. "My husband left me one final gift. A simple reagent that reacts to a unique pollen signature." I held up the small vial Arthur had left me. "One drop is all it takes to reveal the truth." I placed one drop in a sample of my honey. It instantly bloomed into a deep, beautiful royal purple. The crowd gasped. I then placed one drop into a sample of their belixir. It remained a pale, sickly yellow. "As you can see," I said, "whatever is in that jar, it is not my honey." But the real show was just beginning. All around the room, people who had tasted the belixir sample were starting to scratch their arms. A woman in the front row let out a small cry as angry red welts began to appear on her neck. An influencer who had been live streaming the event stared in horror as his face began to swell. The Judas honey, when processed, had become a potent allergen. They had not just created a fraud, they had served a room full of the world's most influential people a dose of misery. The panic was immediate. The humiliation was total. The live stream footage of the belixir catastrophe went viral before the event was even over. Amelia and Julian stood on stage, frozen in the spotlight, as their billion-dollar dream collapsed into a nightmare of itching, swelling, and public disgrace. The aftermath was a firestorm. Lawsuits from the attendees, a federal investigation into their fraudulent claims, a complete and total corporate collapse. They lost everything: their company, their reputations, their future. They vanished under a mountain of debt and shame. I did not watch them fall. I went home. I went back to my valley. The next spring, a miracle occurred. A small, rogue swarm from one of my stolen hives, guided by a memory I cannot explain, found its way back to my lavender fields. They had come home. I sat on my porch, watching them dance in the sunlight, the gentle hum of the Hives a symphony of renewal. My valley was safe. My legacy was secure. To anyone listening to my story, I want you to say this: do not let their modern world convince you that the wisdom of nature is a thing of the past. There is a power in the earth, a truth in the soil, a secret language in the hum of a bee that no laboratory can ever replicate. Greed is a loud, clumsy beast, but integrity is a quiet, patient seed. And in the end, it is always the seed that survives, waiting for the right moment to bloom. My name is Beatrice Vance, and my work, the quiet work of healing, continues.